Yo, 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 welcome back to the channel, fam. If you're new here, first of all, where you been at? This is the spot where real Washington Commanders fans pull up to talk about everything going on with this squad with energy, real analysis, and no filters. And today we've got a packed episode. 3 stories that, as a burgundy and gold fan, are going to have you feeling all kinds of ways. Hope, hype, curiosity, and maybe a little bit of, bro, what is going on? Look, we're in March of 2026. The draft is right around the corner. Free agency is in full swing, and the Commanders are in that time of year where every move matters, where every decision Adam Peters makes can decide if this team takes the next step or just stalls out. Last year, we made it to the NFC Championship. Y'all do not understand how close we actually were, but close is not enough. Fam, we want that Lombardi, period. So today, we're going to talk about what needs to happen. We're going to talk about an opportunity the Commanders have to chase if they want to give Jaden Daniels the weapons that are needed. We're going to talk about the mock draft that has the Commanders making a move that could change the game in the backfield. And at the end, we have a story that involves the most famous person in the country and a stadium that does not even exist yet. Believe it, this is one you cannot skip. But first, the big one. Let's get it. News 1. The Commanders should trade for Brian Thomas Jr. Fam, listen up. This is serious. This is not some 2 a.m. Twitter rumor. This is a real opportunity sitting in front of the Commanders. And if they let it slide, we're going to regret it. Let's talk Brian Thomas Jr., wide receiver for the Jacksonville Jaguars, 23 years old, 6 feet 4 inches tall, 205 pounds of pure upside, and according to reports from Connor Hughes with SNY-TV, the Jaguars are taking calls on moving that player, and bro, if that is true, the Commanders need to be at the front of that line. But before somebody in the comments hits me with, bro, why would they trade a 23-year-old wideout? Let me lay out the context. Brian Thomas Jr. had a ridiculous rookie season, 1,200 yards, 10 touchdowns, exactly the kind of receiver that made people say, yo, Jacksonville got something here. But in 2025, things did not go well. 10 drops in the season. And when there are drops on a team that is already trying to build an identity with a different system, different chemistry, questions start popping up. And when the Jaguars start taking calls, that tells me that inside that building, they already decided that this receiver is not part of their long-term future, period. That is where Washington comes in. Bro, you know what makes this story perfect for the Commanders? Brian Thomas Jr. played with Jaden Daniels at LSU. Yeah, heard that right. Those two already have chemistry. They already know each other. They already know how the other one reads the field. That is priceless in the NFL. That is not something that just appears overnight with some random free agent pickup. When a team has a quarterback as special as Jaden Daniels, a player who can create plays out of nothing, extend plays, and has an arm that can attack every level of the field, the last thing that squad wants is a wideout learning those tendencies from scratch. Think about it like this. When Jaden breaks the pocket and rolls out to the right, BTJ already knows how to snap off that route, already knows how to find the soft spot. That connection was built in Baton Rouge, and it can bloom in Washington. Bro, what I would give to see that combo in burgundy and gold. And fam, do not forget the physical side. 6'4", 205. That player can go up and fight for that jump ball in the end zone, can stretch the field with that frame, can be that WR1 who intimidates corners. The outside threat Jaden needs. Now, the obvious question, what would the Commanders have to give up? Based on the proposed breakdown, the idea is a pick swap, sending the number 71 overall pick to Jacksonville and getting back the number 81 overall pick, plus adding a 3rd-round pick in 2027. Basically, we're talking a 3rd and a 4th. Fam, that is a reasonable price. Stupid reasonable when you look at what is coming back. A 23-year-old receiver with proven rookie production, still on a rookie deal, who already has rhythm with the quarterback. The Commanders would still have 6 picks in the 2026 draft. This is not an all-in fire sale. This is smart surgery. And check the timing. This 2025 season, believe it, is very likely Terry McLaurin's last run with the Commanders. McLaurin has been a dog, absolute warrior, the heartbeat of this team for years. Full respect, always. But fam, let's be real. Terry is heading into the back part of that career, and the Commanders need a plan B, a plan C, and a future plan in the wide receiver room. Jaden Daniels has years and years ahead. A generational type talent, bro. The front office has to build around that player now. And let's address the elephant in the room. The Commanders tried to go get Alec Pierce in free agency. According to John Keem from ESPN, Pierce would have signed with Washington if that receiver had decided to leave Indianapolis, but that player stayed with the Colts. That stings, bro. It hurts because it proves the team is active. Adam Peters is hunting, but the market does not always break your way. When free agency lets you down, you have to get creative. You have to think outside the box. And a trade for BTJ is exactly the type of swing that separates good front offices from great ones. Keep it a buck. Yeah, there is risk here. The 2025 drops cannot just be shrugged off. 10 drops in a season is concerning. That is not just bad luck. That is something that has to be evaluated. Is it technique? Focus, scheme fit, all fair questions. But bro, you also have to factor in that 2025 was a transition year in Jacksonville with a new system and shaky offensive cohesion around that player. Young players sometimes just need the right environment to blow up, and I honestly believe that reuniting with Jaden Daniels is that environment. Picture it. 4th down, 2 minutes left. Commanders need a play in the end zone. Jaden in shotgun, BTJ in the slot. Daniels extends the play, rolls right. Brian Thomas Jr. beats that press with size, waves for the ball, and Jaden drops a dot. Touchdown. Commanders move on. Bro, that gives me chills just thinking about it. Fam, the Commanders have to make that call to Jacksonville today. All right, bro, breathe. Because what's next is heavy too. Time to talk draft. News 2, mock draft 5.0. Commanders take Jeremiah Love at pick number 7. All right, fam, switching lanes, but the energy is still up. We just went through Mark Morales-Smith's mock draft 5.0, and for the Commanders, the projection is interesting, low-key controversial, and worth a deep dive. With pick number 7, Washington selects Jeremiah Love, running back out of Notre Dame. And before somebody in the comments starts yelling, not at 7, hear me out. Because there are two sides to this. First off, meet Jeremiah Love. This player is one of the most exciting running backs to come out of college in the last few years. Notre Dame product, top-tier speed, elite vision as a runner, the kind of open field playmaking that literally makes you drop the controller. Bro, what I just saw on that highlight tape should not even be legal. Love is the type of back who does not just bang it between the tackles, can flex out into the slot, catch passes out of the backfield, and handle third down work. In a modern NFL offense, that kind of versatility is money. Morales-Smith's take is pretty straightforward. Washington has struggled to find a consistent running back who can complement and elevate this offense. And that is facts. Fam, let's be honest, Washington's backfield has been the soft spot of this attack for way too long. When there is a quarterback like Jaden Daniels who can run, can create, can escape and pick up yards with those legs, that is amazing. But it also means that if there is no real RB threat, defenses can throw everything at Jaden. Over time, that beats a quarterback up. A back like Jeremiah Love flips that whole equation. Imagine the opposing defensive coordinator trying to game plan. There is McLaurin outside. There might be Brian Thomas Jr. if that trade we just talked about happens. And now there's a running back in the backfield who can run wheel routes, take checkdowns, and turn them into 15-yard gains. Bro, that is a straight nightmare for any NFC defensive coordinator. The spacing opens up, Jaden's reads get cleaner, the offense becomes legit multi-dimensional, and fam, there's another tactical layer here that deserves some love. Washington went to the NFC Championship last year. That means this team is already good. This is not a teardown. This is not some broken roster trying to glue itself back together. This is a group that needs the last few pieces to get over the hump. And in those long January runs, in the playoffs, a steady run game is the difference between finishing drives in crunch time or stalling out. Run the rock, control the clock, move the chains. That is playoff football. Baby, now, the obvious controversy is the slot. Should the Commanders really spend the 7th overall pick on a running back? Bro, in today's NFL, that question splits fan bases. There is a very strong camp with plenty of data saying running backs are not worth a top 10 pick. That other positions bring more value, that solid backs can be found in later rounds. Saquon Barkley is the exception to the rule, they say. And yeah, from a pure draft economic standpoint, that argument is real. But there's another way to see it. If the right player is sitting there when your card is up and that player fills a real need, the position label matters less than the impact. If Jeremiah Love truly is the best option on the board for Washington at that moment, or if Adam Peters looks around and decides nobody else available moves the needle like Love, then the move tracks. Draft context matters. Who else is on the board at 7? In this mock, players like Caleb Downs go at 8, Kenyon Sadiq at 9. Is there a defensive piece Washington needs more than a running back? Those are the questions Peters and that staff are grinding through in that Ashburn war room right now. What is not in doubt, and this part is not really up for debate, is Jeremiah Love's talent. If this player lands in Washington and actually gets the touches, the trust, and the right role in the coordinator's system, the ceiling is Pro Bowl level back. There's that mix of explosive speed and receiving ability that modern coaches drool over. And fam, in a league where the passing game rules, a running back has to be part of that passing game. Love can do that. Love can be that player. It is also worth noting the rest of the draft landscape in this mock. Fernando Mendoza out of Indiana going first overall to the Raiders. That is the quarterback of the moment. No real argument there. Carnell Tate from Ohio State going to Cleveland at 6. Francis Mauigoa maybe being the best player in the entire class and landing at 3 to Arizona. Wild group of prospects. And Love being on the board for Washington at 7 is a realistic scenario if things fall like that. Peters has to be ready. All right, fam. Okay. Breathe again. Because now we are getting to the story you did not expect when you clicked on this video. And trust me, this is wild. News 3, Trump wants the new Commanders Stadium to have that name. Bro. All right, we're going to talk through this slowly, very slowly, because if not, I am going full meme mode, and it is over. The President of the United States, Donald Trump, the 47th president, the person in question, wants the new Washington Commanders Stadium to carry that name. Yeah, Trump Stadium, or whatever branding they cook up. And fam, if that is not the most Washington, D.C. story you could imagine in 2026, then there is nothing more D.C. than this. Let me lay out the full background because there are layers here. The Commanders are building a new stadium, a $3.7 billion coliseum with a dome on the same land where RFK Memorial Stadium used to sit, the original home of the Redskins from 1961 to 1996. The team is covering $2.7 billion. The city is putting in the remaining $1 billion and leasing the site to the franchise. This is the biggest sports infrastructure project the district has seen in a long time, and now supposedly the White House has been in touch with the Commanders ownership group to express interest in having the new building named after the president. Bro, what I just read should not surprise anybody in 2026, but here we are. First, the track record. And listen, this is objectively fascinating as a historical note. Whatever anybody's politics are, Trump has been in the sports venue and big-name game for decades. The Kennedy Center already carries that other presidential name. There are Trump-class Navy ships. Banners with that name are hanging off federal buildings in D.C. The Trump Organization just filed for a Trump 250 trademark for the 250th anniversary celebrations of the country. This person has a very particular relationship with putting that name on big things and an NFL stadium in the nation's capital. Bro, that is like the final boss of naming rights deals. And fam, here is the historical irony that blows my mind. Trump was at Super Bowl 26, January of 1992. The Washington Redskins beat the Bills 37-24 in the Metrodome. There are pictures of Trump there celebrating. So there is a connection between that person and this franchise's glory days that goes back further than most people even remember. Not saying that justifies anything, just saying the history is more complicated than it looks at first glance. Now, the real question that matters for us as fans, does the stadium name actually matter? Honestly, bro, for me, if that stadium has a beautiful retractable roof, seats around 65,000 burgundy and gold fans, and the team is winning Super Bowls in there, you can slap almost any name on the outside. I am still pulling up, jersey on, beer in hand, yelling my head off. That is my fan take. Now, will there be political fireworks around this? Absolutely. Washington, D.C. is the political nerve center of the country. Any move like this is going to live under a microscope in a way that no other NFL city deals with. What we do know is that putting the stadium back on the RFK site is a real homecoming for the Commanders. That is powerful symbolism all by itself. Long before you even talk about a name, RFK had an energy, a noise, an atmosphere that old school fans still talk about like it was yesterday. Going back to that ground with a modern building, a roof, 21st century tech, that is something Washington's fan base has been begging for years. That piece right there is what actually matters long term. And keep it a buck, whatever happens with the naming rights is going to be a long, messy conversation. There are going to be voices for it and voices against it. There's probably going to be debate in Congress because if the D.C. government is putting $1 billion into this thing, the community has a right to weigh in on the name. Fans get a say. Politics matters when public money is on the table. That is not some hot take culture war thing. That is just how the process works in a democracy. But fam, here's my final take as a Commanders fan. I want that stadium. I want it. I want to see Jaden Daniels under that dome throwing touchdown passes in January with 65,000 people going absolutely nuts. I want that field to be the most intimidating place in the NFC. I want visiting teams rolling into Washington and feeling the weight of the history, the fan base, the burgundy and gold from the very first snap. The name on the outside, let the politicians and lawyers stress over that one. We, the fans, are going to pack that place regardless. Fam, there it is. 3 stories, 3 angles, all the Commanders universe energy in one video. Brian Thomas Jr., a real shot at giving Jaden Daniels an elite weapon that already knows the quarterback from those LSU days. Jeremiah Love in the mock, an explosive back who can flip the whole backfield and add another dimension to this offense. And the new stadium with a potential name that is going to have people arguing for months. This is Washington, bro. There is never a boring day. Look, we are in one of the most exciting stretches in this franchise's recent history. We just made an NFC championship run. There is a generational quarterback in Jaden Daniels. There is a front office that is active, that is digging, that is trying to build something real in Ashburn. Every move over the next few weeks in free agency, in the draft, on those trade calls is going to decide whether 2026 is the year the Commanders finally take that last step. I believe they can. I believe they are going to get there. And if you believe it too, this is your spot. Bro, if you made it this far and still have not dropped a like, what are you waiting on, fam? That little button tells the algorithm this content is worth pushing, and that helps this whole thing keep growing. Hit like, subscribe if you're new, and drop a comment. Would you pull the trigger on a Brian Thomas Jr. trade? And what do you think about the new stadium name? Drop your take down below. I want to hear from the entire Commanders family. See you in the next video. Hail to the Commanders always. Let's go.